Hey guys, it's Mad Friday and welcome back to another quick tutorial. On this day, today we're going to be looking at crew training. We've had quite a few questions in the comments about how I do my crew training or how you should do crew training in general. So I'm just going to start from the very start, do it in sort of plain terms as I can, and hopefully for you guys that don't know the ins and outs of it, hopefully from this video you should be able to sort it out for yourself at the end. Anyway, so crew training. What do we mean by crew? Well, inside every tank in this game there will be between 2 and 6 crew members, depending on what type of tank it is, how big it is, blah blah. Between the 2 to 6 of them, they will all fulfill 5 main jobs, no matter how many people are in the tank. Start off with the big dog, the commander, and the commander uses the tank's view range to spot tanks and do stuff like that. And that is where your commander comes in handy, with his view range skills and the initial view range of the tank. Next up we have another important guy, the gunner. Gunner does a few jobs. He aims the gun, he adjusts your shots when you're hovering over a target, if you didn't know that one. So if you've got your sight on a tank, the gunner will actually compensate. So if you're leading a target, your sight isn't over the tank, so you have to compensate for the range. Just a little tip for you there, if you didn't know. Anyway, yeah, so he does that, but he's also responsible for the turret traverse speed. So, you need a good trained gunner to be able to do stuff like that. Next up, another important person, one of the most important, the loader. Obviously, he picks up a shell, he rams it in the gun, and then the loader, the gunner, fires it off. So, next up, not so important person, the radio operator. Basically, he uses the tank's signal range to signal targets you've spotted to friendlies, and the reverse ways. If one of your friendlies spots a tank, he picks up the radio signal and puts it on your map where it is. And that's where the vehicle's signal range comes into play. If you move out of the signal range between you and a friendly tank, you will lose all that information. Last crew member, the driver. Driver is responsible for getting you around the battlefield as fast as possible, so if he's not fully trained, your tank will not move as fast as it can. So when I'm talking about these stats, what I mean is these bits on the right. So it says view range here 300 meters, that is with a fully trained commander. Rate of fire 25 rounds a minute, that is with a fully trained loader. So if your crew is not fully trained, they're not going to do any of those jobs as well as it says in the stats. And also, like I said, each tank can have between 2 and 6 crew, so if you have 2 crew, those 2 crew between them will fulfill all 5 jobs in the tank. So say your commander is also a loader, if you get the commander taken out, you will lose your rate of fire as well as view range. A little bit different on Xbox than it is PC. On the PC you train each crew member individually, but on here you only train the commander. Right, so as you can see in my garage, I have purchased, especially to do this, a brand new tier 2 British light tank, the Cruiser 1. In the bottom left hand side you can see it says no crew. So what I need to do is put a crew in it. So I'm going to press X on that. I'm going to go to crew, and there's several options here. The first and probably the most popular for a new player is to recruit a crew. I could also find a crew from a different tank I had with lots of skills on. If you click on them, you can reassign that crew. But this, you only get 2 options. You get the 75% training for silver and you get the 100% option for gold. So there's no 50% option for reassigning. Also, for find an unassigned crew, maybe I sold my tier 1 British light tank and I'm moving to the tier 2. Your crew does not disappear unless you actually get rid of them yourself, so probably best not to. You can find your unassigned crews in here and fit them in the tank just the same way as we've done the other one. Click on there, you get the 75% and the 100% crew training options. So what's the difference really between these 2 options? Well, if you train at 75% with silver, your crew skills are only going to be pretty much 75% as good as if they would be with a 100% crew. So this costs you silver. Pretty good option for a new player. This option, 100%, costs gold. That is real world money to get a fully trained crew. So why would you want to? Well, if you start off with a 100% crew member, as you can see in this option, I have 2 skills on that tank. If I train to 100%, those 2 skills will work immediately. If I train to 75%, those 2 skills will be inactive until I reach 100% crew training. Yeah, and also the other thing is, if you start with 100% crew, as soon as you start playing the tank, you can start working on your crew skills, i.e. perks and skills, not just the crew training itself. Anyway, so I don't want to do that, because it's a brand new low tier tank. This is probably the most popular thing people are going to do. I'm going to recruit a crew. Now we have 3 options. You have 50% training, which is free for the rapid course. We could do a regimental school training again, same as the other ones, for 75% training for silver. And Tank Academy, which will get straight up to 100% for 600 gold. These prices are not constant throughout. The higher you go up the tiers, the more silver you have to pay for 75%, and the more gold you have to pay for 100%. So just for the sake of arguments for this tutorial, I'm going to train these guys up for free. Right, they're in there now. If we get rid of that box, you can see on the right, my new tank commander, Wesley Phage, is at 50%. So, how do you get from 50% to 100%? Well, plain and simple, you just play. The more games you play, the quicker that bar will fill up. And this is where I start to lose the exact information to give you guys. The WoT Xbox Wiki on the console website is actually wrong. It's a copy and paste from the PC version, and it does not carry over. So I don't have an exact figure for you. I think it's roughly, though, about 80,000 experience to fill that bar up, and then your first skill is going to cost you double that, so it's 160,000. But I'm not entirely sure about that, but all I'm basically trying to tell you, if you pay for a 50% or a 75% crew, before you can master any skills or perks, you're going to have to keep playing this tank with reduced stats until that green bar is full, and once that green bar is full, you will then have the stats listed in the garage. Right, so I hope you've got that bit all down. Now we're going to have a little quick talk about skills and perks. Right, tankers, so once you've got your commander to 100% in his tank and he is fully trained, what can you do after that? Well, if you look over on the right hand of my screen, my commander Harlan McDonald, he's fully trained, and underneath that he is 2/3 of the way training a skill, and underneath that in some boxes are some skills and perks. I have 3 skills or perks fully trained, so to find those you click on upgrade, go to crew again, find your commander, and up come the skills and perks. On a brand new crew this will all be empty, so what you will want to do is click on browse skills and choose a skill or a perk you would like to train. As you can see, I'm training repairs at the minute. I've got 31% of that skill left to train, and then it will be at 100%. So as you can see here, I have 3 perks. Perk is indicated by a lightning bolt, and a skill is indicated by a set of engineer's calipers. There's one main difference between a skill and a perk. A skill works as it's training, so my repair skill will be gradually getting better until it reaches 100%. These perks, they only work at 100%. So, if you have a brand new crew, you've trained it to 100% and you choose a perk to train, you will get no benefit until you've trained that perk to 100%. So the way I get around this is by training a skill and then swapping it to a perk once it reaches 100%. So just to prove a point to you guys, what I'm going to do is change my track mechanic for camouflage for 10 gold and then go back in. So now, imagine I trained camo as my first skill. The camouflage skill would have got better as it trained to 100%, and once it was at 100% I can click on it with the A button and it comes into a separate menu. These are all the skills and perks that I have not got fully trained, and as you can see in each box it says 10 gold. It's going to cost me 10 gold to change camouflage to one of these. So to change that skill to a perk, all I do is find what I want. I think I would like to go back to track mechanic, so I click on that Do you want to spend 10 gold? Well, yes please. Go back into my crew, skills and perks, and there it is. Camouflage is now track mechanic. So that means you can train your first skill as a skill, let it get to 100%, and you want to swap it to 6th Sense. That is probably the most powerful tool out of all the skills and perks. And then retrain a skill, and then I would swap that once it's at 100% to Brothers in Arms, and then retrain a skill again, and then change it to whatever you like. And that is how I do it, guys. Always train a skill and then change it to the perk you want if you want a perk, or if not, just keep the skill and then train another skill. And that's how I do my crew training, guys. Right guys, next thing I want to talk about is Mentor. A lot of people will recommend you take this as your first skill. However, I do not, and the reason for that is this. If you take Mentor as your first skill, yes, it's a skill, its effect will gradually get better as it's training, but once it reaches 100%, you will have a 100% crew with one fully trained skill. However, that skill you've trained has no benefit to your tank whatsoever. Mentor gives extra crew XP to the crew. It does not make... Well, let's talk about camouflage. Makes you more sneaky. Firefighting puts fires out quicker. Recon gives you view range. Situational awareness gives you view range. But Mentor just gives you extra crew XP. So you've spent that whole time training your first skill, and nothing about it affects the way your tank plays. So you've got Mentor trained as your first skill. You train your second skill. Remember, the amount of experience it takes to train your second skill is double the amount it takes to train your first. So you've got Mentor on, so your second skill does train 10% faster. However, you've trained 2 whole skills now, and only one of them benefits your tank and makes any effect on your tank whatsoever. So to get your first skill, you've had to earn 2 skills, if you see what I mean. And now you can maybe start seeing the negative effect of Mentor. Yes, you've trained your second skill faster, but you're still 80,000 roughly experience in the hole from training Mentor. So you've trained your second skill, you then train your third. That is then double the amount of experience that it costs to train it camo. Yes, it trains 10% faster, but again, you've trained 3 skills and only 2 of them work on your tank. This is why I do not recommend you take it first, guys. The amount of skills you have to train for those 10% to add up to start giving you a benefit is a long time. What I would do is just train something that's going to be useful to your tank. And also the other effect is, say you trained camo as your first skill. You're more stealthy in game. You may get 1, 2, 5, 10 more shots into the enemies that you wouldn't have done without the camo. And those 10 more shots might add up to 500 extra experience, which would be more than the 10% extra you got from Mentor anyway. So to me, the benefit of having stuff that benefits your tank makes you gain more experience anyway by playing better, rather than just getting 10% more crew XP from the Mentor. And that is why, guys, I do not recommend it. If you don't understand what I've just said, please ask in the comments, and I will try and explain it a little bit more sort of less off the cuff and more in detail in written words. Right guys, next thing we're going to talk about is elite vehicle crew training. As you can see, some of my standard tech tree tanks, let me find one here, my T25-2, I've not played it yet. In its box on the bottom of the screen, you can see the upside down triangle, and there's no laurel wreath round it. Next to that is my British Cruiser 1. You can see the white diamond in the box. It is now surrounded by a gold laurel wreath. Let's find the Comet again. See, that one is surrounded by a gold laurel wreath, and let me show you in the packages why. I have researched every package within the tank and also the next vehicle. That makes your vehicle then elite, meaning any extra crew experience, vehicle experience you earn then goes on to your crew experience. And there's a elite tanks benefit thing in the bottom right hand corner. Let me read it out. Tank XP is now elite XP, which can be converted to free XP using gold. So then The experience you've earned on that tank can be converted using gold to free experience to research more tanks. Accelerated crew training activities. I don't know the exact figures, but once your vehicle is elite and you keep the crew in it and you continue to play it, you get more crew experience per game than you would have done before the tank was elited. Hopefully I've explained that in detail enough. If not, again, just ask in the comments. Right, next up we're going to talk about crew training using premium vehicles. So, we're going to stick with the British guys this time. So if we find a tank, let's say my Tier 10 British medium tank, the FV4202. So I'm quite near finishing the snapshot skill. Almost there. So if I was to play this tank, do the daily double, and I didn't quite finish that skill, and I really wanted to finish that skill today, I could then take my 4202 crew and put it in my knights. So by doing that, you can see most of my premium tanks say no crew, and there's a reason for that, and I will explain it in a minute. Right, so now, because my premium tank has no crew in, I can select any of my British crews and chuck it in that tank. Now I can do my daily double on my premium tank, but with my 4202 crew, meaning on one day you can get minimum of 1, 2, or even depending on how many premium tanks you have of that nation, you can have multiple daily doubles on your crew training, meaning your crew training happens a little bit faster than it would do if you didn't have any premium tanks. And that is one of the benefits of having low tier premium tanks. They don't really make much silver, but they are pretty damn good for crew training. So again, I could take that crew from the knight and put it elsewhere. Let's see what else other British medium British premium tanks I've got. So where is it? Where's he gone? There it is. I could take that crew from the knight, put it in my Excelsior, and do a third daily double on that same crew. Once I'm done with that, I just put it back in that tank, and it costs you nothing to move a tank crew through loads of premium tanks and put it back in the original tank. It costs you nothing to do that, meaning you can get as many daily doubles done as you've got premium tanks on one crew. Or alternatively, you could share out your premium tank doubles between the tanks you wish to get the extra crew experience on. Right, there is one main exception to this. Let me find one. Let's pick a French tank that I know does this. Where are you? Where are you? AMX Chaffee. Right, so you guys that know it anyway will know this. The AMX Chaffee, from the name, has part AMX and part Chaffee. The hull of this is a Chaffee hull, and the turret is from the AMX light tanks. So you have half American and half French parts on this tank, meaning when you go to put a crew in this tank, you can choose American or French crews to chuck in that. So if you don't have particularly much money to spend on premium tanks, and you want to get the most benefit you can out of your premium tank, it's probably better to wait until there's a dual nationality tank on sale, meaning you can put whichever crew you want from the two nations in this tank. Another good one is the T-3488, a very rare tank. You can put both German and Russian crews in that thing. Right, so there we go. Right, so the last thing I want to discuss is when you should and shouldn't dismiss a premium tank crew when you first buy it. Most premium tanks come with a fully trained crew, but that's it. However, there are some exceptions to that, especially this is why I've brought the Knight up on screen. One of the benefits of buying the Knight was that it came with one skill fully trained as soon as you bought it, and that's roughly, again, the exact figures I'm not entirely sure on, but that first skill is worth roughly 80,000 crew experience, and that is not something you want to dismiss. I find these particularly beneficial to me. When the Knight came out and I saw it had a fully trained crew with one skill, I knew that in the future I wanted to buy back my Comet. Very good tank for its tier and a lot of fun. Obviously I've finished most of the British lines by the artillery, and I wanted to start buying back some of the tanks that I enjoyed playing. So I knew I wanted to get the Comet back, so I bought the Knight. It came with a fully trained crew and 1 skill. I immediately changed that skill to 6th Sense and continued to play this tank with its original crew in it until I had trained up the 2nd skill. Then, once I had 2 skills trained, them being 6th Sense and Brothers in Arms, I then bought back my Comet and reassigned the Knight crew to the Comet. Oh, that did cost me gold because it's a tier 7 tank and I didn't want an unskilled crew, and I wanted the effect of my skills, so I had to pay gold because I wanted 100% crew. But once you've done this, you can still play the Knight, and all you have to do is choose one of your British crews and chuck it in there. So that's the original crew from the Knight. I can still play it in this tank, but it belongs to the Comet now rather than the Knight. So just be very wary about ditching off your crews. You need to be very aware of what they come with. If they come with a skill, don't dismiss them straight away. Or if they don't come with a skill, you may not wish to dismiss them. If you know you want to buy back a tank in the future, if you don't want to have to recruit a crew, just keep that crew in the Knight. I think I'm doing American crew actually. Let me just show you what I'm doing with one of my American crews. So we got given this tank a while back. I did not dismiss the crew. I am currently training up a new crew for a tank I might need in the future. I don't even know what it is yet, but I'm just doing it. So you can see I'm roughly halfway through repairs, meaning this crew is not particularly well skilled, but I can do my daily double in this tank. Then, because the crew belongs to this tank, I can move it to the Locust, chuck it in there, do the daily double in there. Then I could move it to the Brazil, do the daily double in there, and then at the end of the day I can just chuck it back in the original tank, and I will have accelerated my crew training for a crew I want in the future. And that's basically it, guys. I've tried to put it across as simple as I could. If you've got any questions on any of the subjects we spoke about, please just ask them in the comment section below. Even myself or one of the other more experienced subscribers on the channel will answer your question. And in 99.9% of the cases on my channel, if one of my subs answers a question before I've got there, they are generally right and accurate, so please take on board what they say. Anyway guys, I hope this helps. If you've got any more questions, like I said, just ask them below. Please give the video a like if you did, please sub if you're not, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.